Hello, fellow cyborgs! Today I'm going to be doing a movie and book review of The Perks of Being a Wallflower. As you know, I recently hauled The Perks of Being a Wallflower when I was visiting Acacia in Maine, and on her channel you can see both of us discuss a little bit of the characters and the plot between both the book and the movie, as I first watched the movie, whereas Acacia first read the book. And since I started with the movie, I'll be talking about the movie first, but before we go any further, book haiku. Unseen, you see all, but can you call it living? Be infinite. Okay, so like I said, let's start with the movie. So this movie adaptation came out in 2013. I believe the book was written in 1999. This stars Emma Watson, Logan Lerman, and Ezra Miller. This and the book are both stories centering around Charlie, played by Logan Lerman. Charlie is a young man just starting high school who doesn't have a group of friends, doesn't know how to fit in, and is having kind of a hard time of things due to mental illness. Fortunately, that year, Sam and then Patrick take him under their wings, and he becomes a part of their friend group. The rest of the movie takes off from there with the different sorts of teenage relationships and issues and hardships, and eventually we get to learn a little bit more about Charlie and his mental illness. I really love the movie. It's one of my favorite movies, and I watch it constantly, and I think it's because it's a high school movie. I mean, it's set in high school with high schoolers, but it doesn't have the sort of naive, flippant attitude that a lot of high school movies do, where everything just works out, or on the flip side, everything is awful and people die. This is a really important and I think normal depiction of the bad things that can be happening to people of this age, to young people of this age, the sorts of relationships they can get into that are healthy and unhealthy, and just about surviving within this teenage culture that grows and flourishes in high school. Logan Lerman is one of my favorite actors, and it's not just because of his adorable eyebrows, and Ezra Miller and Emma Watson, both just the main trio, just do an excellent job of portraying their complex characters that have to deal with some pretty bad stuff. You quickly come to love Charlie and Sam and Patrick, and you feel like you are part of the friend group somehow, even though you're really just sitting and watching a movie. Logan Lerman portrays this quiet, sensitive, and vulnerable young man just brilliantly. You don't pity him so much as you just want to be near him. And I think it's very often hard to see a young man portraying such a vulnerable character, but Logan Lerman just gets it spot on. Amidst with all of the heavy things though, there are a lot of really great funny moments, and I think that's one of the things I really appreciate this is, as dark as it goes, a lot of it is just hanging out with people you like and listening to great music, which I'm hoping is more of people's high school experiences and less of the dramatic stuff. It definitely goes to show just kind of what a day in the life with them is like, as well as in the moments of intense emotional turmoil. So I love the honesty about how life can be for people of this age and just people in general, and yet how they can still manage to laugh and have fun and have friendships that last a lifetime. So moving on to the book, I just finished reading this last week. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars, whereas I love the movie. I would give it 5 out of 5 if I rated movies. When Acacia and I had our discussion on The Perks of Being a Wallflower, we talked about how Charlie and Sam and probably Patrick are fairly androgynous sorts of characters. They don't necessarily fall heavily into gender stereotypes, especially Charlie, and she challenged me and I challenged myself to try to read Charlie as agendered or as both a male and a female or something in between. And as much as I tried, and as much as I think that you could definitely read it that way, I had a really hard time, no one's that surprised, separating the characters in the book from the characters I'd seen in the movie. But for me, that actually ended up being a good thing, because I found that this movie felt a lot hollower emotionally than the movie for me. I don't think in this book I got to know the characters Patrick and Sam or Charlie that that much better than I felt in the movie. I also thought that a lot of the fun, laughing hangout times weren't really captured in the book, though the emotional times were, and those fun hangout times really lifts the mood from an otherwise really important book. So I definitely wish that there had been somehow the camaraderie would have translated more into this book than it ended up doing. But I completely understand that Charlie, this is written in epistolary fashion, Charlie's writing letters to an anonymous friend. He is writing these letters to track his life and out of solace, and at times where you need to be comforted by a letter to a friend, perhaps you're not going to be writing about the useless jokes and the random hangout time. At first, I didn't really get on with the writing style in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and that's in part because Charlie's writing style grows as he becomes more comfortable writing letters and he writes more essays for his English teacher, Bill. So the writing style definitely changed over the first 50 pages of the book, which I found very, very interesting. I guess there was just an amount of charm that the movie gives me when I watch it that I didn't really find in the way this book was written. However, you get to hear more about what Charlie's reading and what reading and books mean to Charlie in this, which as a book lover, I just loved. In The Perks of Being a Wallflower, Charlie reads To Kill a Mockingbird, This Side of Paradise, Peter Pan, The Great Gatsby, A Separate Piece, The Catcher in the Rye, On the Road, Naked Lunch, Walden, Hamlet, The Stranger, and The Fountainhead. I will link all of those works down below. As I mentioned before, being able to read Charlie as a more agendered character, and this partially is because it's written in first person, so Charlie doesn't often refer to his gender when he's writing. Just on occasion, you'll get the pronoun he or a reference to him as a boy. But apart from those things that identify him as male within this text, I think that the books he's reading, or more importantly, the books that Bill, his English teacher, asks him to read, are really telling in his gender. The books that Charlie reads mostly have male protagonists, and a lot of them are more masculine writers. Think The Catcher in the Rye, J.D. Salinger, The Great Gatsby's author, F. Scott Fitzgerald, William S. Burroughs, who wrote Naked Lunch, and even William Shakespeare, who wrote Hamlet. I'm not at all trying to suggest that women can't enjoy, love, or read these titles, but I do think you kind of understand what I'm getting at, that the reading that Charlie's doing is perhaps the most gendered thing that he does within this novel. Anyway, it was just something I noticed. I hope I'm explaining myself correctly and haven't pissed anyone off. I also found that I was hoping for more insight and details into Charlie's mental background in the book than what the movie could talk about, but I found that they both tackled that subject relatively equally. So in essence, I didn't find anything of more emotional depth or character depth in the original book than I experienced in the movie. And I think that's mostly what I look for when I'm wanting to read the original book, whose movie adaptation I saw first. I'm looking for more detail, more background that 2 hours of a movie couldn't fit in. This, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, didn't give me that extra detail, but that doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy reading this, because I did. But I am really glad that I watched the movie first, because I don't think I would have necessarily wanted to watch the movie after reading this Perks of Being a Wallflower, and I'm not sure that I would have enjoyed this nearly as much had I not had the characters of Charlie, Sam, and Patrick fully fleshed out in my mind from the movie. So to sum up, no matter how you experience Charlie's story in The Perks of Being the Wallflower through the movie or the book, I think that it's a really important YA sort of story that contains young adult characters, and if you haven't checked it out, I sincerely hope that you do. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the movie and book review of Perks of Being a Wallflower. Please let me know in the comments down below if you have read or seen this work, and if you have done both, which you preferred. Or if you could let me know a movie adaptation that you liked more than the original material, I would certainly be interested in hearing that as well. Thank you for watching as always, and until next time, watch a lovely movie and continue to be lovely. And as always, thank you to my patrons who support me through Patreon. I really appreciate your continued support and hope that you are having a wonderful day.